This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at Celebration Theater for their presentation of Dead Boys. Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Matthew Scott Montgomery, writer and star of Dead Boys at Celebration Theater. I am an actor who is mostly known for doing like Disney Channel stuff. I'm making the transition into theater actor, and I wrote a show that we just opened at the Celebration Theater, which is my dream space to be doing it in, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Great, and which character do you play tonight?
My character's name is Levi. Levi breaks my heart a little bit, because Levi's a really well-intentioned guy. In the world of the play, it's kind of the end of the world, and there's a mysterious apocalyptic environment happening, and he has been trapped in the basement of his old high school, and he's kind of like remembering being bullied in high school, and he's kind of stuck in this space. And he gets trapped down there with the guy that used to beat him up. So the play is just one scene all the way through, and these two characters reconnecting and realizing their high school experience was more similar than they thought that it was to begin with.
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed your performance.
Oh,
and
thank
also,
you.
I love the way you wrote it in the sense that it had these layers in it. Like, you actually played a gay Christian. When you think, how's that possible? How can you be gay and Christian at the same time? And your friend was Latino and white in a suburb area.
Yeah.
So you saw a lot of those things, which you basically just don't expect to see.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of times when you see LGBT theater, you find character, and when religion is involved, and I've been in Southern Baptist Sissies that Del Shores wrote in the film version as well, and which is a beautiful piece, and I absolutely love that. There's a lot of anger and angst of being rejected from the church, and this character Levi, he's always trying to make the positive choice, and despite everything, he believes in God and believes that God is love. Despite everything that's happened to him, it was important for me to have a character in a piece and to get to play a character who's always trying to make a positive choice despite everything, like choosing to love despite all the things that happen to him. And as the play goes along and it kind of unpacks itself, you hear some of the things that he went through. And like you just said, that Carter, the character that Levi's trapped down there with, is a Mexican-American. And Levi and Carter realize they have some things in common, Levi being a Mexican-American, Carter being a Mexican-American, and Levi being a part of the LGBT family. They're both kind of these shunned minorities that grew up in this mostly white, super straight kind of Republican high school. And it's kind of, they really finally learn who they are because they both had to wear these masks when they were in school. And the play, a lot of it is unpacking what those masks were and kind of taking them off and being able to be vulnerable with one another. And there's some twists and turns throughout there where you find things that it keeps flipping things on its head where you don't know exactly where the show's going to go. But that's how real life is. You know, we're complicated. I'm a member of the LGBT community. I'm not just a gay person. That's just not who I am. We have belief systems. We have things we like or don't like. You know, we have, some of us like sports, some of us don't like sports. Some stereotypes are kind of true, some aren't really. And I wanted to have two complicated, well-rounded characters that really get a chance to connect despite all of those differences.
I remember one line in the play that just fascinated me when he said, you know, he beat you up, and then he says, "You don't know why I did that. It's just so incredibly complicated. I just can't explain it."
Yeah.
And that basically just flashed back to my memories in high school.
Sure.
When I did things, I don't even know why I did them. I just had to do it.
Yeah.
I said things to some people. Why did I say that to him?
Yeah.
It's not like I didn't like the guy. It's just everyone else was doing it.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to do that? And you know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of it's with toxic masculinity and heteronormativity. There's a lot of these ideas of we have to be a certain way. And in this show, because these two guys are trapped kind of at the end of the world, everyone else is essentially gone. And they realize that a lot of those things that they were told to be and they were told how to act weren't apt, weren't right, were things that didn't matter, that they lost part of their lives because they dedicated it to trying to live up to this idea of something that someone somewhere decided they should be. And a lot of that is entrenched in toxic masculinity and heteronormativity. But we've had people who come to see the show who identify with it, who aren't LGBT. There was a white woman with red hair who came, and she identified with it in certain ways. A lot of it is about how you never grow up out of high school. And these two guys, they're 25 now, find themselves back in high school and have to face all of that stuff. High school kind of feels like the end of the world to begin with, and that's kind of where the show lives.
Are you familiar with what the Pope said a couple of weeks ago about homosexuality?
I'm not sure if I do. Tell me, what did he say?
He actually had a private conversation with someone, and the guy who was gay, he was confessing things to, and the Pope said to him, God made you the way you are, and he loves you.
Yeah.
And it was just revolutionary, because the Pope actually said that in public, and it was printed. Some reporters actually went to the church and asked him, well, what about this? The Pope saying God makes people gay?
Yeah.
And the church said, we don't comment on private conversations the Pope made. So it's kind of like they're saying, well, yes, you know what I mean? Well, we can't officially say something, but yeah, he said it, you know.
There's a Bible verse that says, I don't know the exact verse, but it says, we were fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully meaning respect. So it's like we have a creator who created us specifically how we are. So I don't believe being gay is a choice. I do believe in God, and I believe that God made me this way. I firmly believe that. And like the character Levi, believes that God is love, and there is a place for him for love and acceptance.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed the piece. I thought you guys acted very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you were here.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Appreciate it. My pleasure.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with
Andrew Puente. I'm a resident artist at the Chance Theater in Anaheim. I have been for the last about year or two. I've been a company member at least. I graduated from Cal State University Long Beach in 2015. Currently represented by DDO Artist Agency and Minx Talent Management. I think that's all about me off the top of my head that I could think of.
Great. And which character did you play tonight?
Oh, that's right. I play Carter in Dead Boys tonight. Carter, he is a young man who is dealing with a lot of internal conflict that I think is brought on by multiple sources, whether it's like a cultural clash in terms of identifying as Mexican American and trying to find out what that means in a part of the country that is not necessarily as accepting of that, and also kind of coming to grips with aspects of his sexuality as well, that is also where he also exists in a community that's not very that's not considered okay, and that not only in the community that he lives in, but also how that relates to being Latino in particular. And I think that's my favorite part about the show, is that there's kind of that crossover, that intersectionality of the LGBT community and groups and minority groups of color, and how their struggles are kind of similar. And Carter, to me, represents people like me who are of both communities, who have struggled with both sides of those kinds of things, and not necessarily seen that represented in arts all the time, particularly because it's something that's very much kind of gray. We never really kind of assign Carter a sexuality. We never really kind of assign anything. We kind of leave it in where Levi says, maybe you're both of those things, maybe you're all of those things, and I think that's kind of great. That's my favorite thing about him, is that he kind of represents an opportunity to be all of the things you are.
I really enjoyed the piece in the sense that it dealt with, again, things you wouldn't think about, like Latino. You don't think Latino and sexuality, or bisexual or homosexuality. Mm-hmm. You don't think of Christian and gay also together, but it's very common. It's like, there are many gay popes. Mm-hmm. In fact, do you know what the Pope actually said about homosexuality a couple of weeks ago?
I do not, actually.
He actually was speaking to a gay person. Mm-hmm. They just had this conversation, and the Pope said, God made you the way you are, mm-hmm. and he loves you and all that. And the Catholic Church, because this is revolutionary, the Pope said that to a gay person, mm-hmm. and the Catholic Church, they asked the Catholic Church, what about this? The Pope is saying God made this gay person the way he is. The Catholic Church says we don't comment on private conversations the Pope made.
I think that's very interesting, and I think that when it comes to religion, that's also a very interesting aspect, because I think that's something that's very culturally tied into being Latino as well. Because I think that was one of the things that you kind of picked up on. I happened to be raised Catholic as well, so I very much kind of associate those two things. And I find it interesting to see where those kinds of lines are drawn by the organizations and by the groups. But I am pleased to see that the overwhelming feeling is at least from what I remember, the same teachings, which is that what the Pope said, and that God made everybody the way that they are, and that God loves everybody. And to me, that I'm like, it seems to me that's a positive story. I'm excited about that.
Also, like, there were other things that touched in, like, bullying, like, just being a high school kid. Because being in high school, you just feel like you're forced to do things. You feel like pressure, peer pressure. You feel like you could be beaten up any moment. I mean, that's just normal. And you just encapsulated that so well.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely something that Matthew did really well in Dead Boys, which is capture that feeling of other, and that kind of where I mentioned the intersectionality earlier, but I think it's that overwhelming feeling that anybody who, like you said, anybody who's ever been in high school, who's ever been in an organization where they felt like they were on the outside looking in, and what that othering feeling can feel like when it's pushed to the extreme, and how isolating and how damaging that can be to people, because we are social creatures and we do feed off of interaction. So yeah, I think that's something that's super important to kind of that it touches on as well.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed from the start. I enjoyed your acting. I always enjoy your acting.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're one of my favorite actors of the chance.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dead Boys will be playing at Celebration Theater from July 1st to July 31st. For more information, go to www.celebrationtheater.com.